After 44 years, I've upgraded from my Onkyo college receiver to this Onkyo AVR. It allows for surround sound, which presented a slight problem. I wanted to use this vintage Realistic Minimus 7 speaker set for the rear, but the issue was I didn't have anything to get them to the right height, so I needed to find some speaker stands. And that's how I ended up with the Monoprice adjustable speaker stand 103021. Inside the box, you get a stand, and then the rods that are adjustable that will end up holding the speaker. And of course, a bit of hardware and hopefully some instructions that make sense. First thing I do is take an inventory, make sure all the parts are here. This is the metal base, the holder, the twist lock. Then this is the bracket. These are made of plastic, which is a little disappointing unless you consider the cost for the unit. The whole thing was like just over 30 bucks. Then I come over here and sort out all the little parts, and I divide it in half since it is a pair, and I make sure I have equal parts for everything. So everything is accounted for. You'll probably need one Phillips screwdriver for the fasteners. So let's put this thing together. We start our assembly by taking the curled nut and the tube and going to the threaded end. We just simply thread this on. Now we grab the metal base, put that over, and then you have thread protruding here. Now we grab the holder, which is really nothing more than a weight. There's a flat side to it, and there's a curved side. You want that curved side facing the metal plate, and the inside is threaded, so you're just gonna thread the tube to this weight. And you may be asking yourself, well, gee, why didn't you buy a wooden stand instead of this metal? And the reason is I couldn't find any that were high enough. They were mostly in the 20 to just barely 30-inch height, and I needed something a little higher than that. And this was the only thing that would give me that additional height. Okay, now you just twist that, hold this still, and the two should lock in place. Now you have the ability to feed your wire through here and up the tube towards the bracket. You can either bring it out here or bring it out through the top, depending on the thickness of the cable and how you want to address that. My speaker wire is zip cord, and so in theory, it should just be able to fit through here and come out the other end. And there is a curve here, but it should just go right past that. And we'll see if we get any wire coming out the other end. And I feel it catching somewhere. I'm looking here at the opening, I don't see it. So I may have to just take the tube apart by twisting this counterclockwise until the tube releases. You see there's all that additional height that I was hoping to be able to use. And we see that the wire went through here. And it probably hung up on the turn. And we keep on pushing. And the beauty of having the wire, of course, going through the tube is that it just looks nicer than having speaker wire hanging out. And I'm still not seeing speaker wire come through here. Than having speaker wire just dangling out to the speaker itself. Plus, it lessens the chance of it getting caught somewhere. After some experimentation, I found out that it was easier to send the wire from the top down because of this turn, if you're going up from the bottom, it just tends to get caught. Plus, where they stamped out this hole, sometimes there's a bit of that metal that's still caught up in there, and that'll hinder the flow of the wire. So I removed that, and it was still difficult. So I decided, well, let's just have gravity work with us. And so I dropped the wire down through the upper portion of the tube, and now I'll pull some wire through, and then we'll drop it down the lower portion of the tube. And of course, that's an easy drop down to the base. And so this should make it a lot easier for you to get your speaker wire inside the speaker stand. At this point, you have to determine whether your speaker has a keyhole like this one does, where a screw is going to go in there and it's going to catch on this little bracket, or if it's a threaded opening, which means there's just a hole drilled into your speaker and a thread catches, because that'll determine on how you build the mount that goes here. Since we know our speaker is keyhole, our setup is going to be simple. We're going to take the cover off the universal bracket, which will expose the bracket. We're going to take one of the long screws, and this screw just happens to fit right there. So this will hold our speaker in place. So what we're going to mount on this bracket is a screw that's going to attach to our speaker in the end, a plastic washer, the universal bracket, and we're going to go into the center hole there. The bottom hole is for the speaker cable if you decide to feed the speaker cable through that. Then we're going to add one more plastic washer and then a thumb screw that will hold the whole thing together. When assembled, it should look just like this. The screw, a washer in the front, a washer in the back, and then the thumb screw on the back. Now, I'm debating whether that flat side should be against the washer, which makes more sense to me, but according to the instructions, they say it's supposed to go on the outside. And of course, you'll leave enough thread on the front so that it can fit securely onto your speaker. Now we're ready either to feed the speaker wire through that hole out to your speaker, or come up through the top into the bracket and then slide that support there. We take this tiny little screw and we're going to drive that here to hold this in place. And you want to make sure that the front of this is where the curve is going out so that the weight is bared over the mount. If you put it on the other side, you're going to make it off center and it's just going to tip over. So seat this all the way down and then tighten this screw. Don't tighten it too much because this is plastic and it will crack, and then you'll have to buy another unit since they won't sell you this part. With the screw attached, you don't want to do that too tight. I'm going to take my speaker wire and feed it through this bottom opening, and now we are almost ready to mount a speaker to the front of this. And probably won't need this much wire, so I'll probably tuck some of that back in, but you'll have to adjust it depending on the distance from where this mounts to the actual speaker terminals. All that is left to do is to mount the speaker on the keyhole, and then you tighten this thumb. And I noticed that there's a little bit of touching going on right here. That could induce some vibration into the pole. We'll see. I've got enough wire hanging here to make my speaker connections. Then all we do is attach our cover. And again, the speaker is going to be towards the front of the curve. You don't want to put it on this side of the curve, otherwise the thing will fall over. And then we repeat the same procedure for the other stand. Here is the finished product. As you can see, I'm using banana clips, and I splayed them out so that they don't make contact with the metal post here. I did add a piece of foam down here at the bottom that does two things. It reduces any vibration from the speaker going into the stand, plus it also lessens the angle. This really rakes in like this, and putting that piece of foam helps straighten it out. On the other speaker, I took the wire out the opening on the post as opposed to coming all the way up to the top, just to be different and to show you that it can be done. And ideally, you want to feed the wire from the top all the way down to the bottom. It's much easier to do that way. And again, if you're using banana clips, you'll want to have them going further left and right so they don't make contact with this post. And again, I use a piece of foam just to bring out the angle of the speaker a little bit more. Here's the look of the speakers on their stands from the back of the sofa, and they look nice. The nice thing about these stands, of course, are that they are adjustable in height, so you can get the right height for your listening environment. They're also not that expensive. It's just a little over 30 bucks. And the reason to go with Monoprice is you'll find these very exact same stands at other retailers for a lot more. I'm not saying these are the best stands in the world. There's some plastic parts, the metal's thin, it's easy to cross thread if you're not careful, but it does get the job done for a very reasonable price. If you found this video interesting or useful, give us a thumbs up, leave us a comment, join the subscription team, and as always, thank you ever so much for watching.